Welcome, everybody, to the Headless Giant podcast. You know my co host, Nick, and now we have a guest. We got King from channel KOK. Why don't you introduce yourself, Nick, and then we'll go to you, King.
Sure, yeah. Nick, if you already don't know, from the Occult Rejects, yeah, you find everything on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcasts. And thank you again, Headless. Always look forward to doing this. And yeah, looking forward to
Absolutely. Thank you. Go ahead, King.
Yeah, I'm King from channel KOK. Look me up for any philosophical or esoteric film movie analysis. It's channel KOK on YouTube. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I would like to just mention real quick for people listening and they haven't seen it. I think we did it live, right? We did the spider symbolism live. That is up. That is still up. So people want to go check that out. It's up right now with the audio. We'll drop in a few weeks in regular rotation. But that spider symbolism series that King covered, fucking fire. So go check that out.
Absolutely. That was a great episode.
Yeah, that was fun.
So, tonight, let's get into the symbolism. I guess I'll go first. My symbol is Nefer, and it's a very common symbol used a lot in ancient Egyptian. Nefer is supposed to be the esophagus or the throat. So it's used in words like Nefertiti, Neferhotep. All these other Nefer words that you probably heard before come from this one. And it's kind of interesting. People thought it was a lute, but it's actually supposed to represent the throat, something about singing. And it means perfect, beautiful, done. It was also used in relationship to grain silos. So when there was no more grain in the silo and it was at the bottom floor, I said, Nefer, it's done. Perfect. So I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting symbol because good and beautiful and perfect only happens when you're finished. Right?
Yeah. When you're done with the product. Oh, yeah. When you're done. Yeah. I like that.
So I thought that was a pretty cool symbol. Here it is with the hieroglyphs. I'm not sure what this says, but they use that Nefer symbol over and over and over again. So it must have been really fucking good.
Yeah. Shit was amazing. Talking about pizza or something. Look at that little circle.
Right. So that's the Nefer.
Nice. If you could pull up mine, that is the let me get my notes up here. Yeah, that is the Kaput Algol, the Bohemian Demon Star sigil. Trying to, I guess, I mean, this thing's very old. So, I mean, this could be debatable. But supposedly the origins and historical path around the first millennium BCE, Egyptians log Algol's 2.86 day dimming cycle in the Cairo's lucky unlucky calendar, linking the blink to Horus's wrathful eye. The early Islamic Latin Middle Ages around the 11th and 12th century, Arabic astronomers called the star Al-Ghul, the Ghoul. Interesting. And the astro mages group it with 14 other power stars, the Bohemian roots. It does show up in the Picatrix, which is around 11th to 12th century, supposedly. And it does show up in where I got it from, around 1531, from Henrik Cornelius Agrippa. And he prints it out with the in the three books of occult philosophy. And it does show up in around 17th and 19th century. Renaissance occultists and later astrologers treat Algol as the most malefic star, the blinking eye of Medusa, like my boy Headless was telling me earlier. And the 21st century revival, online talisman smiths, and people casting for Algol. Oh shit! All right, I had the notes up. I was like, "Oh, what the fuck is that noise?" I didn't see what was going on. What was I saying?
That's Medusa.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still used like today. Anatomy of the sigils, I'm just going to go over this real quick. The Agrippan glyph, I think, is the one that I'm showing now. Supposedly the forked shaft, the spinal and column weapon of Perseus, also the path of the eclipsing binary as one star occludes the other. It's supposed to represent 3 terminal cycles, eyes of Medusa, Jupiter and Saturn, Algol's ruling planets. Other stars, triple system, system nature recognized by modern astronomy. Part of the system. And there's a trailing bar, which is supposed to be the severed of kaput without the body evokes decapitation. But yeah.
Damn. That sounds like a powerful star for curses.
Yeah. Sometimes, just real quick too, if you're using it like in, supposedly for rituals and stuff, the correspondence, it sometimes could be used with like Jupiter or Saturn, but it's the ritual purposes could be boldness or nobility, bodily invulnerability. It also helps. People would use it in a lot of amulets too for protective reasonings. So there you go.
Looks like a badass key.
That's what I
was thinking. That was a key.
Which I find interesting if it's associated with the head too. It's either a Medusa or a Horus's eye. There's a
I wonder what would happen if you drew that on your third eye.
I'll have to try that tomorrow. That looks like fucking King Diamond. But yeah, that's it. Thank you, sir.
That's pretty awesome, though. I mean, you got that cycle in there. So if you are doing a curse, you've got that time to, really intensify the energy in that sort of thing. If you're going by the Medusa's pyramid or something, you can use a bunch of different numbers there.
Actually, it's passing though this month. That Algol, actually, Uranus is making a rare series of conjunctions with Algol between July 2024 and May of 2025. So we already kind of like basically went through it, but I don't know. So maybe it had an influence on people going crazy the last year.
Yeah,
I think so.
That also reminds me, since the key part kind of has like 3 springs on it, kind of 3 prongs. I was online and someone had brought up the symbol of the Pope's staff when we got the new Pope. And of course, the Pope's staff has the 3 prongs on it. And there was, people were talking about all these esoteric different symbols that it looks like and whatnot. And what it made me think of was the Honey Dipper. And around the same time, we have all this stuff happening with the bees, of like all these weird things happening with bees around the same time as the Pope, and then we have his staff kind of looking like a honey dipper.
Yeah, that's when I used to do ritual work, and I did my water, and I would do the salt and water. I would dump the salt in the bowl, and I would used to use that Catholic thing. It was like a bowl at the end with the cotton in there, and I would dump it in the bowl and splash it like that. It was like going around, fucking, doing it all dramatic, But again, that's almost like the honey dipper. I mean, the same exact kind of look.
Yeah, I'm actually drinking June right now, which is fermented tea and honey.
Nice.
Catch buzz.
So that brings up something. So the honey symbolism is kind of interesting. It's also, I believe this would be one of the keys in the Catholic flag, sort of like the key to hell. There's the key to heaven, key to hell. You've got to have the 2 keys. And that was much more ancient, going back to Hecate. And Hecate has the 2 keys, and she's the key bearer. And I think there's a lot of crossover between the Catholic Church and Hecate, especially if they're doing goddess magic in there. Like what the site was devoted to originally was a Cybele-like goddess from the Etruscans before the Romans even got there. So the entire thing is built on top of this goddess worship, and that's one of the keys. And what's interesting is Medusa's relationship to seers and the oracle at Delphi. And the oracle at Delphi was very much related to the idea of honey, because the Melissae were the priestesses there. And so the priestesses with this honey are the ones that would deliver the oracle. And if you look at the omphalos that they have there, the stone that represents the navel of the world, it's got this netting over top of it that makes it look like it's crawling with bees. So the omphalos, or the navel of the world, the thing that unites earth and heaven, is coded with bee symbolism. And you see the Mormons, they've got the bee symbolism too. So there's something really deep about the idea of this sort of prophetic honey, either going to the underworld, again, almost immortality being invoked there as well. So
Yeah, I see in the comments, Joey's was doing some wordplay and connected Medusa and then rearranging the letters to be seduce EA, which I would flip the EA to be AE, like Aether, so it would be like seducing.
Oh yeah. Or even like the AE.
I love
Like you had
Medusa.
the Black Widows doing honey potting, and that's I would connect Medusa to like a darker, feminine, kind of like succubus kind of a thing as well. So it's interesting that how you could get honey potting being seduction and Medusa and Aether all connected there.
Well, there's two myths
Sucking the life.
around. What's that?
Yeah, it's sucking the life out of you.
Well, there's two myths around Medusa. One is that she was raped by Poseidon inside of Athena's temple. And that is what caused Athena to want to relieve her of the burden of being human, so she turned her into a monster. That's where this Gorgon comes from. And so you've also got the idea that maybe she was doing it willingly, which is what made Athena mad and then turned her into Medusa. But this Medusa character was supposed to be down in Libya, I believe. So Perseus had to go all the way down to Africa to slay Medusa and bring her head back up to, Greece. So there's an interesting sort of a journey taking place there, and that eye of Algol representing Medusa, it's connected to so much other stuff. It's connected to addiction. It's connected to basically all of the worst traits. It's right there, turning you to stone. All these different things that you know tie you down. So emails. I think I got a couple of questions. If we want to go through that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder if people would ever have questions. That might be worth entertaining.
Right. So it says, I was born on the cusp of Pisces, which is water, and Aries, which is fire. I always feel like the water of my Pisces sign has put out my dreams and aspirations my whole life of my Aries fire. I'll start to do something, I'm really good at it, and then all of a sudden I'll stop. I'll feel like it has kept me from going anywhere. Can that be true? I also feel like I'm clairvoyant, but I just don't have it all down. I'm a mess. What do you suggest? Do we have some astrology doctors?
I mean, I would say that's probably just life in general making you feel like.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. I'm a novice at many, master of none kind of mentality. But when it comes to astrology or any kind of zodiacal kind of mindset, I see it more as archetypal and alchemical. How some people can connect and do amazing work together. Some people are like oil and water; they just can't get along. They can't work together, and that also goes inwardly with how you interact with yourself. And so, if you're if you feel like part of you is trying to do something and another part of you is kind of at war with yourself, you can always look at the rest of your chart. I don't know if you know the rest of your chart, or you've talked to an actual astrologer who knows their stuff. look at your other chart, see what your other alignments are, and take in consideration of those elements. Pretend like you're an alchemist in your own mind. Kind of, you can always do that. Something that, and I think this is good for men or women, is have a stoic mindset and I think that's helped me a lot to separate the inner and outer worlds. So I think that's another part of it, is to kind of understand that. And the last thing I'll say on it is, maybe if you're kind of at war with yourself and you can't get your feet to take that first step into whatever venture that you want to go into, maybe find a way to motivate yourself. Picture what you want and then write down the first steps on how you would achieve that, and then do little by little, like, I need to do this to get this to get this, because that's in story writing. The guys who write South Park, they did an amazing video on how to write a story, and you need that to get from A to B. So maybe just write down, okay, this is what I want, this is how I get it, and then just do it. Don't think about it. That's the hero's journey. Just jump. Don't think about the jump. Just jump. Would be my solution.
Screw the fear. As an Aries, but I'm on the cusp for Taurus. And I'm going to just be honest and put it in my own perspective. I guess try to put myself in, I've been in this person's situation, I think, before, if I think about it. A lot of times for me, if I'm getting into something that I'm into, passionate about, but yet I can't finish it, for me, it is normally maybe I'm doing something I'm passionate about, but somehow it's in a constrained to somebody else's form. It would be just using Headless as an example, not saying he does this. Let's say I told Headless I want to do this topic on the show for myself. I was going to do a solo, and then he tells me how to do it. May not be what I envisioned in my head. So now I'm still doing what I like, but it's not, that could be it. There could be something else going on in my life that has me very upset and makes me think less than of myself. And I start thinking less than of myself in the work that I'm doing, and then I'll stop. So maybe certain things like that. Take a look at maybe other things in your life that might be upsetting you and see if that's overflowing into the things that you like doing.
Very good advice. I think a lot of us get into that mindset. And if I was going to make any sort of suggestion, maybe try either Qigong or Tai Chi. It's a great way to just slow things down. Having the fire and water signs together, I think that's a good recipe for steam. So maybe think about chilling out. I don't know. I think there's a lot you could do with it. I mean, look at your planetary signs, preferably, and start to redecorate in the way that you want to see yourself, because how you see your living arrangement around you is how you eventually reflect on yourself. So always make sure that your environment is in the type of configuration that would be most conducive to what you're trying to accomplish. That's amateur feng shui. If you want to get deep into it, there's all sorts of stuff.
I like that. Sometimes it's a deep reflection about what actually is going on and looking at it from an above view,
Right.
Some self-reflection can just help too. I love that.
I love it. So let's go to you, King. Let's hear about some of your experiences.
Yeah. Well, something that, to start off with, something that I don't really talk about much when it comes to these groups of esoteric thought and occult philosophy, spirituality, all this kind of fringe stuff that circles like run around online, is that in my personal life, is I was born with cerebral palsy, and if you're unfamiliar with what cerebral palsy is, it's essentially like a neurological muscle quote disability, which I kind of disavow kind of that word. I usually refer to it as a condition. And the reason why I start off with this is I've had many spiritual and paranormal experiences in my life, and I feel like it's all connected to the fact that I have cerebral palsy. So essentially, how cerebral palsy, in my case at least, happened was at some point in the birthing process, I got more liquid, more water in my brain than the normal person. And so it is on my right side. And so your right side of the brain controls the left side of your body. So my left side of my body, my muscles are always tense, and I have to put a lot of thought and effort into even moving them on their own. It's like a poor connection. Like think of like during a storm and you're trying to talk on the phone during a storm or something, and it's bad reception, but you can still kind of hear it. That's kind of how it is. Like my right side has to really assist my left, and through that, I have from a very early age, I've had this dissonance in my physical body and my spirit, because I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of things I want to physically do, and trying to get my body to do it or find ways to achieve it and kind of communicate and translate that into the physical has always been really challenging for me. It's been an extra obstacle. In doing so, I have drawn inward from a very early age. And I think that drawing inward to myself and having these hermit-like moments in my life has made like been the perfect catalyst to have these paranormal spiritual experiences. For instance, when I was very, very young, it was the first time I ever went hunting. One of my first friends from elementary school, he moved. I live in kind of the heart of America in the Midwest region. Some of my first friend, he moved from the East Coast to the Midwest region, and his family bought a farm. And I was staying over at his house, and his dad and brother decided to go hunting in the morning. And it was the first time I ever went hunting with anyone. And we took it was me, my friend, this was like second or maybe third grade. And we just had a BB gun, and we was hunting small game, like squirrels, rabbits, things like that. His dad and older brother was hunting bigger game, and they had woods still on their farm property, and we was just hunting on their property. And the reason I bring up where they're from is these are people from the East Coast who, maybe wasn't familiar with the area or whatnot. They're kind of more city, and they're getting used to country life because, wanting more of a simple, laid back life. And when we get into the woods, my friend and I went one way, and his dad and brother went the other way. And my friend had the BB gun, and I was following shortly behind him. And we had seen something moving, and I think it was a rabbit. And we followed for a little while, and then at one point he's a bit ahead of me, and he calls me over. He goes, "King, you need to come in and see this." And I could tell in his voice like something was odd. And so I go over there expecting, maybe the rabbit is doing something weird or something. But no, what I see is there's these grouping of trees. In the shadow of one of the trees, there is a stereotypical Native American spirit, like full on Indian garbs and everything, like what you would picture as in like Pocahontas or something, right? And he has some kind of spear stuck through him, and it stuck to the tree, and his eyes are glowing.
Oh man.
And it's kind of like if you ever seen the anime Inuyasha, how Inuyasha has the arrows and he's stuck to the tree. It was like that, but a Native American spirit. And it freaked us out. And that's the fastest I've ever ran. And we ran all the way through the forest, through his barn, back into his back door, which was connected to his kitchen, and where his mom was cooking breakfast for all of us returned. And we're like, "Bro, we just saw this ghost. It's crazy." We're like freaking out. And his mom had to call his dad. His dad came back, and it was a pretty intense moment, and I still remember that. I mean, it's such a vivid memory. And kind of end this story, epilogue to it is after we got older, we got into different classes in middle school and high school, so we started getting in other friend groups. We still talked, but we wasn't as close as what we was when we was kids. And when we graduated high school, I was just hanging out in the library, and I saw him, and we started just chatting it up. Like, "Hey, you remember, all the stuff we did when we was kids?" And I go, "Hey, yeah, you remember that time we went hunting and we saw that ghost?" And me, growing up, since I had even more paranormal experiences after that and everything, I had just, gone down the rabbit hole of researching all of this stuff. And so I was open to these ideas. But as soon as I mentioned that shared experience we had, he freaked out, and he goes, "Yeah, but my dad went back like the next day, and he didn't see anything." And so that was just our kid imaginations. And like he was so apprehensive about it. Like he did not want to talk about it whatsoever. He was just freaking out.
I didn't want to believe it was real.
Yeah. So
how many was that? That was just it was two of you, right? Or it was
yeah, it was just two of us.
But that's still, that's wild that like if two people saw the same shit. Whoa. Yeah, when you said we, I was like, oh boy, that just made it interesting. Both of you saw it. When you said Grant, I was like, oh wow, it's not just him.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Have you looked into the area at all to see if there was tribes or some battles or something that went on?
Yeah, there was Civil War battles all over here. I have another friend who I still talk to this day, and we went to elementary school together as well. And he actually had, and this is his experiences, not mine, so I can't talk much about it, but he has shared with me that he has dreams till this day about Civil War battles and like giant Wolverine wolves, like giant wolf figures and giant battles and all this kind of stuff. And when we was in elementary school, one of the field trips that every grade has to go to is we have to go to where these this in particular battle of this area was fought. And it's such a creepy area. But like in elementary school, they have every class to go to it and walk around and share this history. So there is a lot of Civil War, and in this area, there was a lot, especially during the Civil War, there was this especially in this area, back and forth on what side we was going to fight on, whether it was for the Confederacy, or the Union, and all this and that. So it's a lot, and there's a lot of native tribes and Indian lores from this area as well. As far as more specifically where his farm was, which his family doesn't live there anymore, I would have to get in contact with him, and I can't really remember exactly where his farm was located. So I would have to get back with him and figure out what the area and look it up on a map and try to figure that out.
Well, it sounds like it could be ritualistic, so there might be mounds nearby. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of mounds in your area?
We have a lot of cave systems. We have a excessive amount of cave systems of this area, and mountains and forests, and it's it's interesting about that. And another experience I've had growing up was, I swear, that, and this is the only experience that I had, because this was even younger than my other experience I just told you guys. My first family home, I swore that the hallway at least was haunted. And of course, this could just be a kid being afraid of the dark. One could say that or whatever, but I feel like there was more to it. The first house that my parents had when I was growing up, and my sister was just a baby at the time, and my bedroom was at the very end of the hall, and I would have false awakening like dreams before I even knew what false awakening dreams and all this stuff kind of was. I was, like I said, I was super young at this point, where I would wake up and something would come out of the hallway into my bedroom, like some kind of demonic like thing, and attack me. And then like I would have dreams where I would wake up, and I would fall out of bed, and what I would think would be one of my parents come and grab me from the floor and put me back on my bed, but it wasn't my parents. It was some betraying to be my parents. I would even have these really weird dreams of like my mom fixing us a dinner, and she would have make a biscuit for everyone. And so we would, in my dream, my mom would sit down and put our plates in front of us, and then everyone would get a biscuit, and then she would have one extra biscuit, and we would have to take turns in this dream. And of course, because it was my dream, it was always my turn, and take that extra biscuit and set it at the start of the hallway. And again, I'm young. I don't know about things like offerings and things. So this is a pure dream with programmed stuff. It wasn't like I was watching horror movies from a young age. Or
You had
something.
something, to get that idea from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in my dream, I would always be super scared about it, and I would take this extra biscuit and set at the start of my hallway, And then for a second, nothing would happen. And I would be like, well, I'm still hungry. I want an extra biscuit. Like nothing's happening. So then I would take the biscuit back and eat it. Then something would come out of the hallway and attack me. The last dream in the series of dreams that I will share with you is I had this. Probably one of the craziest ones I had was it will be a dream of me sitting on the couch and my baby sister like on the other side of the couch laying down when she was like still like a toddler kind of infant. And uh my dad would in my dream would have this brown blanket that we had when I was younger, and he would drape it over his face and pretend like he was a ghost, and he would be like, oh, look, I'm a ghost. And then as he's doing this, I would look over, and from out of the hallway, something that looked identical to my dad with that blanket over his head would walk out of that hallway and then stay in between on the couch in between me and my sister. And in my dream, I was forced to look over at it, even though I knew it wasn't my dad with the blanket because he was in front of me. And I would lift up the blanket and I would see this demonic face. And I had all kinds of dreams like that involving this hallway where like I would get up in the middle of the night and walk down the hallway, and there would be like a like little young child with like a bullhead in my sister's room, and it would come out of her room and charge and hit me in the chest and ram me up against the wall. And I was just terrified of this hallway, like as like hysterically terrified of it.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that could definitely be associated with sort of picking up on a different frequency that's happening that other people aren't really catching on to.
I remember when I was younger, my family believed that the house was haunted. My parents already did, so it wasn't like too hard to convince me. My parents already believed. I was like, oh, all right, I'm not crazy for thinking this. They think it too. But I mean, definitely weird stuff happened. But I, talking about the hallway, I just remember all of a sudden it brought into like the whole fact that like my dad, and my mom, all of us have seen like shadows. Like we had the hallway between like the living, like you'd come in the house, have like the fireplace, and then like the living room, and then there'd be like a bedroom, and then like a hallway, another bedroom, and then the kitchen. So in between like the living room and the kitchen, you would see like a shadow, like literally like somebody just walked down the fucking hallway. It was like all three of us have seen that. And there was one time where my mom thought the cat was rubbing against her leg for a minute, and then looked down to go like, pet her or say something. It was like, nothing's there. She was like, oh. Well, so I had my mom telling me these stories too. So I was all like, this fucking house is fucked up. As a kid, I was already, I was scared of the basement for sure now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You go up the stairs, you're like running, looking behind you, making sure nothing's great. As like a little kid. Yeah, fucking
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Growing up, I was always very imaginative, and had imaginary friends and everything. I like to pretend like I was fighting ninjas. I was very into to like things like the Ninja Turtles and stuff. So I would pretend like I was fighting invisible ninjas and whatnot. And then I wanted to be like everyone else, and I saw the kids around me maturing, and they wasn't out playing with their imaginations a lot. And so instead of just quitting, I had this weird ceremony I did that. Thinking back on it, I'm like, why did I do the ceremony as a kid? And essentially what it was is I had a goodbye party for all my imaginary friends. I imagined my house like full of my imaginary friends, and we all had like, drinks. And I was saying goodbye to each and every one of them. And I walked around my house, and I ended in my bedroom. And instead of just having them fade away, I imagined them being sucked into my forehead. And at this young age, I didn't really know what third eye was and everything. I just wanted to keep them with me. And then as I was growing up, instead of outwardly playing with imaginary friends, I would like put on headphones, listen to music, or just stay in my room or paste or something that was kind of easy to do. And I would go inward and I'll like imagine like a movie in my head where I would
It's huge, I think.
I would have like I would usually refer to him as Spencer. For some reason I would call him Spencer, but it was my idyllic version of myself that would be going on all these adventures and everything. I think that's why storytelling has always been, all these archetypal things has always drawn to me, because I've gone ever since I was younger. I would get into these meditative spaces, and like I was there, and even if I was sitting down doing it and visualizing these adventures and everything, I would be rocking, and the more I would get into it, the harder I would like rock. And my family would always kind of tease me like, "Oh, Chris, you're just in your room like rocking a lot, or you're pacing and stuff like this." And I was like imagining all these crazy scenarios and everything. And so I've always kind of drawn kind of that inward, and I think that's also part of it, because I've had this other experience back in 2021, I believe. So this is later in my adult life, where I had another false awakening dream. But I also don't think it was a false awakening dream. I think it was masquerading as a false awakening dream. Because basically what happened was I had this quote dream where I woke up, immediately decided, hey, I want to make some eggs. And I go into my kitchen and I start making eggs. But then as I'm making eggs, I'm just like, wait a second, was there some people at my table in my dining room? And I turned around and there was 4 gray aliens sitting at my dining room table in this dream. And as soon as I turn around and see them, it goes white. And the next thing I remember is I'm in this dark room where I'm sitting on this like metal chair, and there's other like rows of chairs beside me, but it's dark, so I can't really see if there's other people or not. And in front of me, there was like a projected screen from a light coming from behind me, and there was a human woman, and she's projecting these scenes that look something like something from The Sound of Music, where it's this same woman in these videos and pictures with children running through a field of butterflies, and she's trying to plead to us that it wasn't up to her, that she had to take the children to see the butterflies, but she's hysterical about it. And right when that scene ends, it goes white again. Then I start to feel myself, like I can start feeling my body, and it's just like a white light, but the white is like piercing, like it can feel it kind of go through me. And I'm getting more and more senses of my physical body again, and I feel like I'm being lowered. And so what I think it was at this moment, because I've had out of body experiences kind of before, so I felt like it was kind of like a returning to my body, like I was being lowered back into myself. But I couldn't open my eyes because I knew this white light was like piercing, almost like like at the dentist's office or something. And then I wake back up, and my TV is on, which I hardly ever fall asleep with my TV on. And I don't remember having my TV on prior to this, but you know how Netflix will like cycle through cover art?
Yeah.
And the cover art was for some Christmas thing that was called like Alien Christmas, which has a claymation of a gray alien dressed up as Santa Claus. And I'm just like, what is this image? Why is it on my TV? And then here's the crazy thing. When I wake up, I realize it's wintertime. I'm cold. And I remember falling asleep with a hoodie on. So I uncover my blanket and I realized my hoodie isn't on me anymore. And the hoodie I was wearing is now folded up at the foot of my bed inside out. And something that you should know, connecting back to my disability, is when it comes to long sleeves, it's harder for me to put on because I can't really move my left hand. So my right side has to help my left arm get into long sleeves. And so it takes a conscious effort for me to actually put on like long sleeves and hoodies and things. So it's not like something I could do in half asleep or something like that.
You gotta really think about what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to have conscious thought about it. So yeah, so and around that time in my life, I was going through, I guess, what some may say a dark night of the soul. I was in a highly emotional state, going through a lot of turmoil in my life and everything at the moment, and so I had a lot of emotions I was trying to process, and I had things like that happening to me.
I think you got incepted for corporate espionage.
Yo, that's some wild stories. That's some wild dreams too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying something before. This is it's like 2 or 3 stories ago. That made me wonder about something with myself. I think you were talking about like maybe memories or childhood memories. Do you ever wonder if like have you ever had like childhood memories? I even guess for you, Hill. Have you ever had like childhood memories that you look back and you're like, is that real? Or it's like, or is that it's like it's gonna sound crazy. I don't know how to explain it, or is that an idea that I had?
Yeah.
Actually real. Like, and that sounds crazy. There's been
I
times
think
I have like certain images or like memories flash, and I'll be like, is that actually real though? Like I remember that, but like I don't know. It just like almost seems weird in a sense when you kind of look back at it. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I get it.
You question your memories. You're like, wait, what? I don't know.
Yeah, I've had it where I've talked to friends from my childhood or my sister, and I'm like, hey, remember that thing that happened while we was together? And they'd be like, I've never done anything like that. Like we've never been in that scenario. I'm like, I swear that really happened. Like I swear
seen
that
that
we
happen to other
lived
people.
through this. I remember this vividly. Like why don't you remember this?
And I've seen that happen with people like, no, dude, that never fucking happened. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny for the other person, like, wait, what? Are you sure? Oh, and I'm like,
Yeah. I actually had another in college. I had a friend, and we would hang out, play card games and tabletop games, and we maybe partake of some cannabis, or he had a hookah. Maybe you would have a little bit of his hookah, and it was one time where we was all at his house, and his house was definitely had some paranormal activity. Like I would house set for him, and all these crazy stuff would happen, voices, ghost cats, all kinds of crazy stuff. But he also had a house spirit, a brownie that we all interacted with at some point. And this one night, it was some of us guys, and we was all hanging out playing this tabletop card game, fantasy game, and we're smoking a little bit and everything, and we had the light on in his dining room where we was playing, but the rest of the lights in the house was off, and it was getting dark outside, and his front front door was like the front door was open, but the screen was closed, and you could see the light beams coming in from the street lamp outside, and so we were all sitting there, and his house spirit, his brownie, liked nicotine. Like, of course, he liked tobacco. So he would always come around when the hookah was out and everything. Like we would always get some activity, and so we had the hookah out. We had some cannabis, So of course we had an alter scene of consciousness, but we're all flow state kind of playing this card game. And I just look over because my friend was taking a long time on his turn. So and I look over, and again I'm kind of buzzed, and I see on the floor his house spirit, who is in the form of like a small child on his hands and knees, trying to pretend like he's a cat. And my friend had a couple of cats, so maybe trying to disguise himself as a cat. But I could tell it was like a solid black mass, like with a shadow. It wasn't like one of his cats, because neither of his cats was black to begin with. And it had these, again, like shimmering eyes. And I'm just like, that's just Brownie. Anyway, he was looking up at the hookah. And so I knew he wanted some tobacco. So I just look over to my friend and go, your house spirit, your Brownie wants some of this tobacco. Like he's like really, he wants something.
Thought it was the good shit.
Yeah. And as soon as I acknowledged it and my friend looked over, he didn't see the black mass, but we both saw from the light being casted on the walls from outside, like a shadow, like a spirit going like, and we're like, yeah, he's.
I unironically believe that the anime Mushishi is a lot more like reality than we give it credit for. Have you ever seen that one?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's fucking great. So there's this he's a Japanese exorcist, right? But he has to get rid of these troublesome nature spirits that are attacking people in these different villages. And so like they'll get an ear infection, and it's actually just one of these nature spirits that used to have a home there in that forest, now is out of a place, and so it gets inside of their heads. And it's like that's actually really close to reality. Like we're living in an area where we're not exactly sure what's going on, and why things happen the way they do. There could be a lot of nature spirits involved because we take over their lands. And the spirit you're talking about, the Brownie, I think mostly don't they stick to like only houses? Like they're kind of like a house spirit.
Yeah. The whole idea of a Brownie from folklore is and there's different names from them, but I prefer brownies. I think that's the name that kind of resonates the best. And a lot of them, they would be they wouldn't be like welcomed in or invoked in, but once they made an appearance, they would be like accepted. Like you wouldn't want to you wouldn't force them out. You'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'm coexisting with this thing now. And a lot of times it would be from some kind of it. You might even kind of ask one to come into your home if you want a protector by putting some kind of bone or skull or mummified animal, like a cat or something, in your walls when you're building your home, or have some kind of something to kind of encourage it. And so if one did show up, whether it was a gnome-like entity, a fae-like entity, or a ghost cat or something, whatever form it took for you, you would then kind of make a deal with it that you wouldn't banish it out, and you would give it kind of offerings like tobacco or something. A lot of them, like the gnomes, like tobacco, and you would even have these in gardens, like elemental spirits in your gardens as well. So something around your property, and you would give it offerings, and then it would maintain your residence for you, where it would clean up your house for you, it would do some chores, It would protect it from any other spirits. Kind of like how we was talking about on our spider symbolism video, how spiders get rid of flies. It would be like this spirit is keeping away other spirits, is how it would be described. So it would be like a protector of the home, or like a like a treasure guardian. Like how we have these stories of like spirits guarding treasures, but
There's a show on Netflix called Hilda, where she's traveling inside of this alternate dimension that exists behind these different pieces of furniture because she followed the brownie into that dimension.
I love Hilda. It's such a good show. It's amazing. Yeah, that show is so encoded. I love it. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if people got to know the spirits around them a little bit better, they might find that they really are on sacred ground. One of the big problems I think that exists in our society is we're always looking thousands of miles away for sacred land when you could be on it right now if you just paid a little bit more attention,
No,
yeah.
man, that's
And I also think water plays a part of it. You have
you think?
stories of where like fays and certain kind of jinns or spirits can't cross water streams, or whether it's above ground or underground. So that's where you get ideas of like ley lines and dragon lines or fairy lines or whatever you want to refer to them as.
I think I've actually seen that before. Yeah, something with like a stream actually stopped like them from crossing. That's interesting.
Yeah, and like I going back to my cerebral palsy, the fact that it has to do with excessive water in the brain or excessive liquid in the brain, I view it as almost like a fairy portal. Like, if you don't know what a fairy portal is, it's like a little bit of water on a mirror, and it's supposed to be like this ceremonial kind of thing. I kind of view it like that, or like a wellspring. Point is, I think not only my solitude within myself and this dissonance between my spirit and my body, but also the fact that the whole idea is extra liquid. And of course, if you're relating it to movies, think of movies like Limitless or Lucy, things like that. But I also think it's water and the spiritual properties of water has to do with it. I also, I've had, of course, experiences where I've seen quote sleep paralysis demons and stuff, and they've bought and you know how I got rid of them? I'm tired of this bullshit. I just want to go back to bed and just like roll back over and pretend like they're not even there. And they got pissed off that I wasn't scared of them or anything. Like I would just I just want to sleep. So I just rolled back over and ignored them, and they left me alone.
The fear associated with the sleep paralysis demon is worse than anything you'll actually experience in reality.
Yeah.
And once you can beat that fear, that's actually a huge accomplishment. It's like the worst kind of panic you can imagine, but just taking it easy because that's what they feed on. They feed on that expression through the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the experience that I shared that kind of started this whole thing, which that why I'm on the show that I shared with Nick, that he was like, "Oh, you guys need to come on and share experiences with me," is Nick asked me why I use in my symbolism for my channel, I use a lot of film reels, and he was asking me if I had kind of metaphysical experiences with film reels or things like movies.
Yeah, because like the logo, I said I use film reels in the logo. So when I saw yours, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't had anything with film reels, but I do consider the North Star my intro for my channel. I relate the North Star and as God's film reel, and it's kind of this punny kind of symbolic thing that I do. But as far as my own experiences, I haven't had anything with film reels. However, I did know because I did get a degree in film. And as I got more versed in filming techniques and everything, the technical aspects of film, even my intro to photography class I also took a photography class. My instructor handed us our cameras and was like, "Your light wizards. This is your, and these cameras are your wands. You're playing with light." And he was like he was trying to be quirky because he was a fan of Lord of the Rings and everything. So he wasn't trying to be like esoteric about it. He was just trying to be like a fun
cool.
professor.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy really ain't too off though.
No, he's not.
Yeah, but he
Like,
hit
I'm
it on
there.
the head. Yeah. But as I went through my degree and started and getting more experiences working with cameras and being the director of things and everything, and that got me visualizing things from other perspectives and seeing where I want the cameras to be laid out and how your setting will tell your story and your perspective matters. And once I started doing that, that helped me kind of learn how to get into these like lucid dreaming states. And I had this dream once where it's quite morbid. So this is gonna notice that this dream is gonna have some kind of morbid tones to it. I had this dream where I wasn't myself. I was another child going to school, and I was in like a high school, and I was in a group of friends, and we would all go to this classroom and tune this like a CRT TV, like the old tube box TV, right? Between these channels and try to get this certain channel where it was all fuzzy, and that certain fuzzy channel will give us. It was almost like Power Rangers, where like when we tune to that channel, we like power up into like our hero versions and everything, and we would fight all these creatures, and it would in my dream it would like we was protecting the school from these entities that was coming through these channels and whatnot. If you ever seen the horror B movie Terror Vision, which I saw years later, it's kind of like Terror Vision. And in this dream, our school was going to be attacked, and it was by this coming force, and it was represented by this storm, and this giant storm overtook our school, and in the middle of the storm, it blew our windows of the school open, and we all had to huddle. And all my friends in this dream, we was all trying to we had the remote, and we was trying to tune to this channel so we could all power up and face this entity that was causing this storm. And I looked outside, and in the middle of this storm, this giant cylinder, black cylinder, like a silo thing, like came down from the sky and like landed in front of our school. Like giant black cylinder, almost like a silo, this black mass came down, and I knew like that was whatever that was what we was fighting. And then sadly in my dream, before we could tune to that channel, the thing wiped everyone out, and I was the last one standing. And it all got calm, and I had to walk through the wreckage of the destruction of this thing. And I won't go into details. It's a quite graphic of a dream. Walk through the wreckage. There's water. There's destruction everywhere. But as the dream was going on, it's switching from a first person perspective to a third person's perspective and like it's going. I'm getting all these cinematic angles and everything, right? And then I feel the presence of whatever caused this coming? And I'm seeing like destruction and chaos and death just everywhere, and this force is coming up, and I don't see what the physical appearance of this force is, but I just feel it, and my dream body gets lifted up against a wall, and my arms go up beside me, and I'm getting pushed up and up, and I'm like almost like a force choke, like when Darth Vader like force chokes someone, and that's when these different perspectives, these different camera angles starts going even crazier and crazier and searching back and forth. And that's when, and I can start just like my false awakening, alien pseudo abduction kind of dream. There's a parallel between these two. Well, I can, in this dream, kind of like the other dream, I can start feeling my arms that are beside me. And the angles that I'm getting are my dream perspective angle. So I'm seeing like all the destruction and everything as my body's getting lifted up, and I'm feeling my arms. And then I'm seeing the ceiling fan in my bedroom as if I'm starting to wake up. And the ceiling fan is like the other perspective. But then I'm getting a third perspective of me looking down at my sleeping body in my bed, like my actual physical body sleeping in my bed. So I'm getting these dream perspectives, I'm getting my waking perspective, and I'm getting this out of body perspective all at the same time. And it wasn't like a picture in a picture where it's like all these different boxes. I was seeing everything at the same time, which is hard to explain. It wasn't like the things are stacked up on top of each other. It was just like I could see everything at the same time.
Nick, how many optic nerves are there that connect to the brain?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Nick should know.
I actually, believe it or not, I don't know. I know there's 12 cranial nerves, and the optic nerve is one of those, but fuck yeah, I should know that actually. Yeah. There's ones that go out, into your brain.
Yeah. So it would be interesting if that matched up. The different perspective with the different nerves.
Yeah. How many Yeah. I do think when you start going up your optic nerve, for some reason, in my opinion, I do think that's where you start getting to different perspectives of sight. In a sense. It's like because I think possibly that's where the orphan idea might be coming up from. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
which is very much like what you were explaining, kind of like viewing things from different angles.
Yeah, it was really crazy, and it's all these experiences are quite weird. And I don't always seek it out; it just naturally happens for me. One of the times I did kind of seek it out though was back in college. Me and a close friend of mine went on a road trip to go see a concert, and we also stayed at an Airbnb. And there was this quote haunted mansion, old manor right next to our B&B, where or like a few streets away, like a few miles away from our Airbnb. That was also by the concert venue. So we went, saw the concert, stayed at the Airbnb, and then we were just gonna go to a few other places around this area, and also drive by this quote haunted manor where there was all this crazy like death and stuff that was happening here, and it was all boarded up, which was probably bad for us to do because both of us had experiences growing up. And so we both were all like open antennas to attract all these kind of crazy experiences. And so we were both like, oh, let's just go seek it out this one time. But it was crazy. We didn't plan our Airbnb to be connected to all this activity. But the Airbnb we happened to stay at was one of these cases it was a renovated old house. And we walked to the Airbnb, and there was a book on the table to like you could log where everyone was coming from. Right beside that book was this other book, and it was this old like diary of all these old women. And I guess when there was a letter that said the story of where this second book came from, And I guess when they were renovating this house, they found this book and this diary in the wall with all these pictures. And I guess this guy would get all these in like the 40s, would have all these women come to this house and he would take photos of them. And this was like his diary, and they found it in this house's wall. And we're like, whoa, this is crazy. We're looking through it and we're talking about it. And then I look over, and on the bed, I see a figure just hanging out. And I'm like, do you see this? There was a guy hanging around the bed right now. And my friend looks over and she's like, what? Like it was crazy. So like again, we were seeking it out, but we wasn't seeking it. We didn't want our Airbnb connected to all the paranormal activity, but it ended up being connected to the paranormal activity.
Awesome, dude. Well, I think we're right at about 1:11, so I
Yeah,
think
it's actually a longer show for this.
yeah,
Yeah.
normally we only do about 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for sticking around with us. Thank you for coming, King. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah. You can check me out at channel KOK on YouTube. That's like the word channel and then space KOK, where I do our slogan is movies are the modern myth, and we do esoteric film discussions.
Awesome.
Definitely go check it out.
Yeah, definitely go subscribe to him, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.